The iconic brands of Detroit. Now wait a minute, this is Highland Park. So why start here? Well, the city of Highland Park is in the city of Detroit after all, and this is where Henry Ford built his iconic Model T, the very first affordable car for the working man. And the guys working there, of course, had to eat something, so when the Coney Island hot dog came along, boy, it made a real splash. And they made them right here, Red Hot's Coney Island. The Model T plant was just up the street, of course, so lunchtime? This was the perfect recipe. Good bun, great dog, a layer of mustard, and then the Coney sauce, and some onions. Oh, yeah. Okay, if you haven't heard about Red Hots, I know you know about those two Coneys right there at Michigan and Lafayette. The Lafayette and the American. Iconic Motor City cuisine.
Iconic. And I don't use that word very often because some people overuse it, but it really is.
Grace Karras is the third generation owner of American Coney Island. Grace's grandfather, Gus, actually started it all down on Michigan Avenue back in 1917.
He came from a place called Dada in Greece, little village out in the mountains. Landed at Ellis Island, heard there were jobs in Detroit, so he made his way to Detroit, but in fact couldn't get anything. He thought, well, I'll start something on my own, and right there on that same corner that we're at right now, he started a little push cart selling hot dogs and shining shoes and cleaning hats and popcorn.
Soon, Gus's brother, Bill, came over and joined him. They opened up a storefront and called it American Coney Island.
It was a very simple lunch. There didn't need to be a menu. You could get a hot dog, chips, something to drink. That was about it.
It wasn't long before Brother Bill opened Lafayette Coney Island next door.
These Coney Islands are running in the fastest growing city in the world.
But why are the restaurants called Coney Islands? Chili dogs, too.
Coney Island in New York is an amusement park. It's not a food.
In New York, Coney Island was known for Luna Park, those bathing beauties, and hot dogs. What Gus Karras saw was an opportunity knocking.
When he saw that amusement park, it made such a huge impact on him. He's like, you know what? I'm in America, because he's in America, and he was so grateful and thankful for that. American Coney Island, and hence the name.
In Brooklyn, yeah, they got their dogs and sauerkraut, but not Coney's. No, not like they make them here.
That sauce is very much like a Greek spaghetti sauce, if you will. And so we think they took a little bit of Greece, put it on a little bit of America, and sold it.
Sure, Coney's can be found in other parts of the country if you want to look hard enough these days. There are many across Michigan, but nothing like, well, the ones here in Metro Detroit. Here, it's tradition, and we have our own Coney decorum.
As a matter of fact, even today, when people ask for ketchup on a hot dog, I give them the bottle. So you put it on. We don't put ketchup on a Coney dog.
No ketchup goes on a Coney. The ketchup is only there for the fries.
And it's always the dog. Forget about the mustard and the chili. The dog makes the Coney.
You don't fry a hot dog. You don't steam a hot dog. You don't boil a hot dog.
Does it have skin on it? Is it one? Does it break apart? The ones with skin casings on it, that's the Coney Island.
It's a flat-top stainless steel grill, and you just put them right on the grill, start cooking them till they start browning and popping.
American, Lafayette, and other Coney Islands get their hot dogs, believe it or not, from the same place, Dearborn Sausage.
We're a niche company, and that's exactly that's what we're there for. We do specialty things.
The maker may be the same, but the hot dog recipes are different for the different Coney Islands.
Everybody seems to have a particular taste profile, so you have to stick to what your customers are used to.
After the dog, of course, comes the sauce.
These are trade secrets. We ask everybody for the recipe. Nobody will give you the recipe.
Judith Martin, the famed Miss Manners, gave it her best to follow the first rule of Coney Island etiquette.
You don't eat a Coney with a knife and a fork.
Judith Martin was an expert on manners, but she's no expert on Coneys.
You're supposed to pick it up with your hands and eat it.
And I use an over and under grip, and you come in like this on one end.
But whatever falls, falls.
But if it's kind of messy, you gotta kind of go all the way.
3 bites, and that's it.
You know a good Coney by how many napkins you use.
Coney Island history now includes Coney sprawl. When some Detroiters headed to the burbs, well, they had to bring their Coneys right along with them.
One of the sons, Tony Caros, decided he would leave the city, and he started opening Coneys in the shopping centers.
Pretty much every Coney Island and every person who started those stemmed from my grandfather, because as soon as he started making money, then he would bring somebody over. That's what we do. You know, we're Greek, family's so important.
The whole Leo's chain, the biggest chain in the country, is descended by business from the Caros family. The Kirby's chain is related by blood to the Caros family. There are hundreds of Coney Islands that you could trace directly to that corner of Michigan and Lafayette.
There's tons of us. There's a whole mess of us, absolutely.
Over in southwest Detroit, there's still another classic Coney Island that dates back to the 1920s.
The real person who understands Coneys, now this is the difference between somebody who really understands. Go to Dooley's over on Vernors.
Now, Dooley wasn't Greek. In fact, he came from Albania. He passed away in the 1960s, but Dooley's place still makes Coneys.
Now, I love American and I love Lafayette, but I spent many a day at Dooley's, which is really like a small place.
Food critics, like the old-fashioned kind of food critics who write for newspapers and magazines, look down on Detroit's signature food because they think it's not sophisticated enough. It makes us look like what we are, a town where men and women work for a living.
You know, maybe we should call our beloved Motown Po-Town because we eat so many potato chips here, more per capita really than anywhere else. How come? Well, our emotional attachment runs all the way back to the 1920s with that iconic brand in the yellow package.
Better Made potato chips, one of my favorites to this day. Can't get it any better.
Better made. Had to be better made.
I must get 2 letters a week if people want to buy us. I just disregard them because I want to keep it as a family business, you know. My dad and his cousin decided to start a potato chip company since it was all the rage at the time.
Peter Cipriano came over from Italy at the age of 17. Cross Moscheri worked for Best Made potato chips. When Best Made closed, the two got together and Cipriano got cooking.
So he used the best oil, the best potatoes, good salt, and he named it Better Made. That's M-A-D-E.
They sold chips a nickel a bag on Belle Isle. Of course, back then, more than 20 other companies were making chips in town.
They were all competing for that new snack food business, you know.
So chippers opened storefronts selling nothing but potato chips. Better Made even had shops next door to movie theaters. In post-war Detroit, New Era potato chips grew into a regional brand with factories in Detroit, Chicago, and Worcester, Ohio.
New Era was probably our stiffest competition.
Frito actually bought New Era back in the 1950s, and then after Frito merged with Lay, New Era, well, it sort of just faded away. Sal Cipriano's collection of chip canisters are a daily reminder of all the fallen brands.
Vita Boy was here. There was Crunchy and Wolverine, even Twin Pines. The dairy company made potato chips for a while.
Superior stuck around until the 1980s. Better Made still making chips on Gratiot right across the street from where many of Detroit's first Italian families lived.
You went into Grandma's house and opened up the refrigerator, and there was Vernors. That's all you had.
The history of America's oldest surviving soda pop brand actually rests in a suburban Detroit basement.
Some people might say it's an obsession. Vernors is such a small company that, compared to a Coke or Pepsi or something like that, you'd never really thought they'd have just hundreds, thousands of different advertising items.
Keith Wunderlich even has the life-size gnome that greeted visitors outside the bottling plant 100 years ago.
The story goes that the gnome's job was to protect the secret recipe for Vernors.
When we would go to Boblo, we would go down there, we took the bus,
and got in and went into the Vernors plant and had a Boston cooler, which was ice cream and Vernors. And that was the best.
Boston cooler is Vernors and vanilla ice cream mixed like a milkshake. If the ice cream is just floating in the Vernors, it's a float.
During the Civil War, a young James Vernor served in the medical corps. He'd worked at a Detroit drugstore well before duty called.
He would be a delivery boy, and of course all good drugstores had a soda fountain, and so he was also messing around with a formula for ginger ale.
When he returned to Detroit, an oak cask full of his ginger ale formula was sitting there waiting for him.
That 4 years of the Civil War was the magic touch for the formula, and that became the extract that they made Vernors out of.
James Vernor became the first registered pharmacist in the state of Michigan. He was a storekeeper and a florist as well.
So he did everything. It was kind of the CVS of the late 1800s, where there were all sorts of different things that you could buy in his store.
But the ginger ale side of the business eventually took over. Mr. Vernor moved to Woodward and Jefferson and made it a destination location.
There was the main soda fountain downtown on the river that was absolutely huge. I mean, just a palace of a soda fountain. It was such a special time where going to the soda fountain was a night out.
James Vernor even moved into politics. He ran for mayor. Now, had he not lost, James Vernor could have been sitting there instead of, what's his name, Hazen Pingree. In the 1950s, the Vernors plant moved over to Gratiot Avenue. Vernors was being bottled in other cities across the country, but, well, it was an acquired taste.
It just had a kick that other ginger ales didn't. You had to learn how to drink Vernors because you had to stop breathing about here or you wouldn't be taking a sip.
When I open a bottle of Vernors today, the first thing I do is put the cap back on it and shake it, and then open it, and then I put the cap back on and shake it again, because I like Vernors when it's just Vernors, no carbonation. It's very good when it's hot, like tea.
In Detroit, we drank it when we were sick, we cooked with it. And there's Tiger great Bill Freehan on deck with a six-pack.
Isn't it nice to discover something natural, like this juicy Valencia orange and this new natural flavor orange pot from Vernors?
Yep, Vernors actually tried to expand its product line with other sodas.
Black cherry, red pop.
The new pops, well, they fizzled. But the ginger ale, it lives on. Maybe it's not as strong as it used to be, but it's still the oldest soft drink brand in the country. It's now owned by the Dr. Pepper Snapple Group down in Texas.
I really think local brands help you identify with who you are.
Okay, so whatever happened to Velvet Peanut Butter?
It was a very prominent brand, and I remember it being prominently displayed in the grocery stores. And at the time, most of the grocery stores were locally owned. Stores that used to carry Velvet Peanut Butter are no longer around. Great Scott, Farmer Jack, Chatham.
There were all the national brands, Peter Pan, Skippy. But here in Detroit, Velvet was our peanut butter.
I don't know that I realized it was a Detroit brand at the time. It was just the most popular brand in the grocery store.
But it was smooth. It was smooth. Fresh, pure, and delicious. It was smooth.
Paul Zuckerman was the man behind Velvet. He came to America from Turkey as a little boy and wound up right here in Detroit.
It started in 1937, and the way it happened, according to Paul Zuckerman, my father, he was driving a truck. When he decided he wanted to marry my mother, her parents didn't think driving a truck was so impressive, and he was always very entrepreneurial.
So Mr. Zuckerman and another truck driver went into the peanut butter business.
They bought a couple of machines and set up shop in a garage on 12th Street, my father and Harry Goss, and the two of them alone together did everything.
Harry Goss ran production, and Paul Zuckerman became the salesman.
He would tell me that he'd fill up his car with cases of peanut butter and go out and hit the road. And his favorite sales pitch was, I'm down to one last case of peanut butter. I don't want to go home with it. Just take
the last one make my day.
When World War II started, Uncle Sam pressed velvet into service to help feed our troops.
Because the government felt it was such an essential product, that probably put the stamp of approval on peanut butter. Mothers probably felt, well, if it's good enough for the soldiers and they think it's healthy.
The Velvet's jar came with those fresh, pure, and delicious faces inspired by Paul Zuckerman's little boy, Norbert.
It does look like him. He wasn't so pure, but he was a cute kid, adorable kid.
You know, there was a time eating peanut butter was actually a chore. The oil and the ground peanuts would separate and then they had to be mixed again by hand. Paul Zuckerman had the solution.
It was called velvet homogenized peanut butter. And he always claimed that they started it, so I only can believe that. But, you know, I wouldn't go to court on it.
He was so successful with it, he was known everywhere as the Peanut Butter King. And if he wasn't known when you first met him as the Peanut Butter King, he made sure that you knew that he was the Peanut Butter King by the time you finished the conversation.
In 1950, the Peanut Butter King decided to diversify, buying the Crunchy Potato Chip Company.
Soupy Sales advertised for them. He used to call everybody a bird bath. I don't know why. You're a good bird bath, or you're a bad bird bath. He was just a wild guy.
By the late 1950s, Velvet merged with Sunshine Biscuit, joining national brands like Hydrox Cookies and Hi-Ho Crackers. Test kitchen cooks dreamed up dishes with ingredients like gelatin, Miracle Whip, and peanut butter.
No, but that was a big thing in those days. Jell-O and Miracle Whip and Jell-O and sour cream and Jell-O and whipping cream. I loved it, but that does not sound like a very good recipe to me. You can't win them all, right?
The Sunshine deal did make Paul Zuckerman a multimillionaire, but he stayed on in charge of the Velvet operation.
When the brand was at its strongest, we had sales in Indiana and several cities, some in Illinois, but basically it was a Detroit brand and an unbelievably well-known Detroit brand.
Just a few years later, Sunshine's enthusiasm for peanut butter apparently dimmed, and Paul Zuckerman bought his company back for, well, peanuts. By then, he'd be known as a philanthropist, as well as the Peanut Butter King.
His answer was, well, I guess I'm just a lucky truck driver. Just a lucky truck driver, so people sometimes would tease and make a little bit of fun about it.
Once again, Velvet Peanut Butter was sold to another national company that, well, shut it down in the 1980s.
Things disappear, and you don't really notice them for a long time. And then when you can't find it anymore, you start to wonder.
Well, now it's back in local supermarkets. Eric Bruce, a Detroit area native, is making velvet peanut butter once again.
We went back to a velvet recipe from the 40s. Velvet peanut butter, just like all other brands, the recipe had changed throughout the years, and we went back to an old-fashioned recipe.
It became a terrific brand, but the real story is that it was Paul Zuckerman. You know, he made it what it is. I guess the proof is it's on the shelf again. Got velvet peanut butter back on the shelf, which is quite a nice thing.
If we acted up in Montgomery Wards while my mom was shopping, we didn't get across the street to Sanders.
And, Sanders was a real big deal with my parents. And once in a while, if you're really good, you can go to one.
Saunders. Well, it's always, for me, it's Saunders, not Sanders.
Sanders or Saunders, it doesn't matter because it's a cake is a cake.
Detroit's premier cake and candy maker had stores and lunch counters all over Metro Detroit, reaching its peak in the 1960s.
Mom worked, one of the jobs she had was at Sanders Bakery on Woodward Avenue in Highland Park. The biggest treat we would have would be to go pick her up from work, and we'd get there early. They had this double chocolate cake that was like to die for.
I remember skipping high school at Notre Dame High School. Don't tell the priests that, but I did because I'd walk over to Eastland Mall and go to the Saunders and get the chocolate malts, which were so fantastic over there. They're still fantastic today, but then it just seemed better when you skipped school to do it.
And to think a guy named Fred started it all 140 years ago.
His real name is Fred Sanders Schmidt. He didn't want to be a baker because his father was a great baker and he didn't want to compete with him.
The story really begins in Chicago, where Fred, born in Germany, grew up. As a young man, he traveled back to Europe to train as a master confectioner.
When he came back, he started his first store in Chicago under Fred Sanders, so not to compete with his father.
After the Great Fire of 1871, Fred came east, and Chicago's loss was Detroit's gain.
He was very successful very quick. In fact, he was way ahead of his time. And some say he created the ice cream soda. He was one of the larger confectioneries in the Midwest.
His pavilion of sweets opened up on Woodward Avenue and became an instant Detroit landmark. His candy-making machines were powered by motors that were made by Thomas Edison and repaired by a young fellow named Henry Ford. Let's say he ran a finely tuned organization.
Sanders used to have a school, so if you worked in one of their ice cream parlors, they had 60 ice cream parlors at one time in the Metro Detroit area, you had to go through a school.
The school actually showed legions of Detroit women the proper do's and don'ts of good customer service.
They were literally sent home if they weren't dressed appropriately, and they have the uniforms they had to wear.
And the lunch counter became a Detroit tradition.
My big day was to go downtown with my friends and go to Sanders and stand behind people's chairs, 3 people deep, while you waited for your seat.
You look down the line and say who was closest to being finished, then you stand behind him, and you keep looking at him, telling him, basically, hurry up and eat.
Can you imagine trying to sit there and eat your lunch or your sundae while people were standing behind you, but you just ignored them?
In 1913, Fred created his most iconic concoction, the Bumpy Cake.
He wanted to pay homage to his father before he died. His father was a great baker. He was a great confectioner. So what he did is combine the two with a ganache over a devil's food cake with buttercream, and that's how the Bumpy Cake was started.
We can even give Fred's company credit for Sweetest Day here in Detroit.
It became kind of a chocolate and gift card kind of a holiday, which is very similar to Valentine's Day, but at a different time of year.
Sweetest Day remains an October tradition, big right here in Detroit and in Cleveland, where it started 90 years ago. Today, some of Detroit's favorite confections are making a comeback. Morley Chocolates is rejuvenating Fred's product line and opening up stores all over again. They've also brought back the Great Debate.
Half of the people, including my in-laws, they say Saunders.
You say Sanders, I say Saunders. I almost think it was a family thing. You said it the way your parents did.
And believe me, it was Sanders, not Saunders.
It's actually Saunders, I'm sure, but I say Sanders because my folks are from Tennessee.
You know, to us, either is right. As long as you are talking about Sanders, Saunders, and you're a fan, we love it.
Well, thank you for joining us for Made in the Motor City here on Detroit PBS, Detroit Public Television. Our walk, our stroll down memory lane in the history of Detroit's iconic brands. So many things that we remember, some of those things that we still enjoy, some things that we've shared with the nation and the world, and some of those things that just aren't around any longer except for in our taste and in our sight that only is in our imagination. Fred Nahat, Bob Scott, the crew of volunteers, our host of this program, Erik Smith, is going to join us here in the studio as well. But right now we're looking to get you into the mix. Make a pledge of support. That's how public television can do these sorts of local documentaries, these histories of us. So join us. Call the number on the screen right now or online at dptv.org. When you do, we will say thank you. We're going to give you your own copy of Made in the Motor City, the history of Detroit's iconic brands. The $75 giving level and above, or $6.25 ongoing as a monthly sustainer. Please do that right now. Keep the programming alive. Keep it all happening when you do make your gift. You saw a lot of Coney Islands in that first segment, and there are so many that we couldn't fit them all into the broadcast, but we wanted to give you a great sampling of all of those throughout Metro Detroit and in the city. And we do that with the Coney book. It's our way of saying thank you at the $90 giving level and above, $7.50 ongoing as a monthly sustainer. But you choose the giving level. Keep public television alive. Lots of special guests joining us here in the studio coming up. But right now, here's Bob Scott, our own Mr. Detroit, with more.
And there is so much more because, let's face it, Detroit has a wonderful history and some of the best brands in the country, or at least we here think so. And I don't know about you, but one of my favorite things at Vernors was to have a chocolate cream ale. Those were the best when I used to visit there on Woodward back in the day. There were so many things that were great back in the day, and we are reliving all of those moments, all of those wonderful, iconic brands tonight with you. And we certainly hope that you enjoy this program enough to reach for the phone and pledge your support to Detroit Public TV. Perhaps at the $75 level, and we'd love to be able to send along this wonderful program that we're all enjoying. That could be $6.25 a month as a sustainer. But why stop there? There's another opportunity if you're one of those people who absolutely loves hot dogs, and who doesn't. There is the wonderful Coney book, yours for a pledge of $90, and there is so much great information in this book on the history of Coneys and all of the fabulous Coneys that we have not only here in Southeast Michigan, but also around Michigan as well, the Flint Coneys, the Grand Rapids Coney. There's a lot of Coneys going on, but there's a lot of pledging going on this evening because there are a lot of people who realize that they want the big combo, which has 2 books and 3 DVDs. We'll tell you more about it later. Right now, reach for the phone, but certainly enjoy this show.
And the show, Made in the Motor City, the history of Detroit's iconic brands. This is the program, and this, of course, is our host, the great Erik Smith.
Oh.
Thank you for being with us.
Are you kidding?
And host, I mean, when we thought who could host this program, and Bill Kubota got together with you to really produce this film, you're the only guy. And thank you for doing it.
Well, thank you. It's a great opportunity. You know, we all love Detroit. And when Bill called me, he said, "What do you think about this?" I said, "Are you kidding? This is a great opportunity to just share some, you know, it's more than reminiscing. It's just part of all of us who call ourselves Detroiters. I mean, I grew up with all those brands, and most of them, I can say, before they disappeared, I was still enjoying them. But, you know, I'm old enough now to look at those and say, oh, yeah, I had that when I was, you know, so-and-so years old. But I think we all remember so many things that you're seeing in this show. I'm watching it for the first time, so and it's really a kick for me. As you can tell, I just flew in from Florida, and as Henny Youngman said, boy, are my arms tired. But it's just a thrill to see this all fall together. We've been working on it for, well, several months, as you can tell, and an awful lot of research, and here we are.
Well, we can
the
all
premiere.
We can all feel it's a labor of love, of course, and we can all sort of feel the love coming through the television screen. And not only did you experience so many of those brands, but you also told so many stories. More with Erik coming up. We want you to join us here by making a membership gift of support. Call the number on the screen, talk to a volunteer, and make a very important and fun gift right now.
It really is fun, and we're having fun this evening, enjoying this great program. It's wonderful when we have our Motor City producers do something that is reflective of our heritage and our culture. And this history of Detroit's iconic brands is certainly that. Yours for a pledge of $90. We'll send that along to you so that you can enjoy the pledge of $75. That's for Detroit motor history of Detroit brands. And for a pledge of $90, we have the Coney book. And that's coming up very shortly right there on the video. And it has even history of Pontiac's great Coney Islands. And of course, who can forget the Athens Coney Island? But there are also an opportunity for you to get a wonderful book produced by Erik Smith from the Heart. That's going to be part of this big combo package as well. That means if you decide that you would like to have the video of tonight's program, you will be able to make a pledge of $150 and receive Erik Smith's book from the Heart, as well as the Coney book. But if you would like to have the entire combination, that is to say you really want to have that whole package of Detroit history, then make that pledge at the $240 level. That would be $20 a month, and we'll send along 3 DVDs, 1 DVD of tonight's program, and 2 additional DVDs, plus the books as well. But now's the time to call. The volunteers are here waiting for you.
Well, just kicking it with a couple of Detroiters here, Erik Smith and Wayne County Sheriff Benny Napoleon. Guys, thanks for hanging with us for Made in Detroit. And now, Benny, this is a program that you have such a great interest in because you live these products. You lived this experience. This is your story.
Oh, well, no question. When I got the call and was asked to participate, I was very excited about it because as you reflect back on your childhood, I mean, I've been in this town all my life, and all of these brands that they're talking about, it's like, wow, yeah, I remember that. Some of them you kind of don't remember until it's time and somebody brings them up. But it's been fantastic. And like Erik, this is the first time I've seen it. You know, I knew I was a part of it, but I haven't seen it in toto. So, I mean, it's been really fun to watch.
They're doing a great job kind of crafting it. And as I mentioned, you, Erik, you remember these brands growing up, but you also told so many stories. You told Detroit stories for so many years. How did that play into your narration of this film?
Well, it's kind of a continuation, I guess, of what I've been doing for a very long time. I was Tim Kiska, who we all know, the great media critic and writer and whatnot, said something about me being a Detroit storyteller. And I think maybe I still wear that moniker. And I wear it with great humility because this city is just full of stories. And Benny, you know that as well as
absolutely.
I do. I've often said you can knock on any door in the city of Detroit and there's a story behind that door of that home. Yeah, because we've all lived in this city long enough to really understand what it was and now what it can be again.
I tell you, my daughter just, as a child growing up, I used to tell her stories about things that were going on in the city when I was like her age, and she still likes to hear those Detroit stories. So it's a very interesting time.
When we come back, we want to talk about one of our favorite topics, which is food.
Yes.
When we return. But right now, we want you to go to the phone or go online, dptv.org, make a pledge of support, grab a DVD, a book, or that big Made in the Motor City combo with your gift. It's important. Do it now.
I was just overhearing the volunteers over here who are taking pledges of support, and there is a lot of interest in the big combination. The big combination is, of course, a pledge of $240 for which there are 3 DVDs that's Made in Motor City, the history of Detroit's iconic brands. Detroit Remember When, that's episodes 1 and 2, as well as the history of Detroit television. In addition to that, you get the 2 books, Erik Smith's From the Heart, as well as Coney, Detroit. That's 2 books, 3 DVDs, over 3 hours of content and video, and a great deal of pleasurable and memorable reading as well. And you will have done your part to make sure that Detroit Public Television remembers the way things were here in Detroit and projects into the future of the way things will be, because we build on our history, and our history is one of viewer support to make sure that we provide you and your family with quality programs. And the only way that we can do that is by your own generosity, making sure that you invest in Detroit Public Television so that we can bring you this kind of program, because really, who else is going to do it if Detroit Public TV doesn't? Remember, that pledge of $240, that's 2 books, 3 DVDs, and you've done your share.
And guys, one of the highlights of the film, really of this town, is, boy, we like to eat. And whether it's the Coneys or the confections, the ice cream, Benny, watching this film back, you probably get the taste buds going a little bit.
You know, I'm an East Sider, so, and I live not far from Gratiot. So for me growing up, it was a cold Faygo and a bag of Bettermaids.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that was it, man. I was in heaven when I had those 2.
Soda and chips for Benny Napoleon. Erik Smith, what do you think? What's your big food memory?
Oh, gee, you know, probably the Vernors thing was pretty tight with me. The Vernors float, I grew up with those. I have a concoction that I like now that's an adult beverage with Vernors, which is very pleasing to my palate. But, you know, I remember going down to, you know, the old plant down there on Woodward and jumping on the Boblo boat. You know, after you kind of took a look at the Vernors thing and maybe rubbed the gnome's nose or something down there and, you know, got on the boat. That's a whole, we all really had a problem cutting down the iconics.
Yeah, the different
yeah,
items.
you know, I mean, we scratched the surface here, but there is so much, just so much.
So much more, and we want to do so much more. And I don't want to make this about law enforcement, but think about the punchki. Eric, you did so many punchki stories over the years, and just the more of the sweets and the great things that were not only from Detroit but also from Hamtramck as well.
Well, I was from Hamtramck, but Hamtramck's Detroit. You know, I mean, you can't get out of Hamtramck without going into Detroit, right?
Absolutely not. Totally surrounded.
Punchkis every, you know, Lenten season, that was a big day. Put on, you know, some extra.
We're looking to put a few extra dollars in the pocket of public television right now. Do it with us. Call the number, grab a DVD, a book, one of the big Motor City combos, but do it right now. Call the number or online, dptv.org.
You know, this is part of the Detroit Public Television franchise, the Detroit Remember Wins, and this Made in the Motor City is right at the top of the list. It's a great opportunity for you to share with your family the history of some of Detroit's most iconic brands, and there have been many. For your pledge of $75, we'll send this along to you so that you can enjoy it. Some of you, I'm sure, are going to wait until the end of the program to make sure that your favorite brand is mentioned, but for those of you who know that we do a thorough job, make that pledge right now at $75. If you would like to have that book of Coneys, we would be able to send along the Coney book to you for your pledge of $90. That's by Catherine Young and Joe Grimm, and they have done a comprehensive job on making sure that all of the great Coneys are mentioned. Of course, there is the combination of the DVD and the two books for your pledge of $150, or the 3 DVDs and the 2 books for a pledge of $240.
All right, much more to come with our guests and much more to come of this film, but right now we want you to make the contribution. Bob's been telling you about the DVD, Made in the Motor City, our way of saying thank you when you do make a contribution. This allows us to go out and make even more of these films, more of these memories, this nostalgia, things that maybe they just aren't there anymore except for in our minds and our imaginations, and we love to see them on film. We also have the Coney book at the $90 giving level and above, all things Coney, Coney Island, the chili, the different ways to make them, the individual families, the Lafayette, the American, the Coney Wars, downtown, all of that covered in the book and in the film. And we'll throw in, of course, the DVD. That's at the $150 giving level and above. Or that big Motor City combo. We have a very special thank you, which we're going to get into as we move along here. This is From the Heart from Erik Smith. He's brought us this book that he's written over the years, put together, just inspiring stories of Detroit, stories of us, as this film is. Much more to come right here on Detroit PBS with you and your pledge.
You know, I really didn't know, and I should have by now, that National Coney Island willingly provides a nutritional breakdown of their Coneys, and they also have a lower fat Coney. But that's the kind of information that you will find in the Coney book. It has all kinds of great info about Detroit's Coney chains, like Leo's Coney Island and National Coney Island, and perhaps your favorite is Kirby Coney Island. But it also contains information about the Coneys from Flint and Jackson, and the Mama Vicky's Coney Islands. Oh, wonderful Coneys that you may have visited, you may have thought about visiting. Well, learn about these Coney places by making that contribution of $90 to Detroit Public Television, and you will have the Coney book. Of course, if you're enjoying the program so much that you've got to have the Coney book as well as the video, well, we can make that happen, because the Coney book and the DVD are yours for a pledge of $150. But we're going to make that even more special, because Erik Smith is going to provide you with a signed copy of From the Heart. Now that's really a great deal, and you will have done your part to support Detroit Public Television at the $150 level. Reach for the phone, won't you?
These days, we don't really give a second thought about all those loyalty programs. You know, the cards you got in your wallet, those barcodes on your keychains. Well, ideas like that have to start somewhere, right? And maybe it was right here in Detroit. So we'll begin the story, let's say around 1976.
Biggie man, well, you know, I just thought people would run and boogie and party.
That's when Detroit got its first wacky FM rock morning guy. The guy who did all those crazy voices that he made up in his head over at WABX.
I stumbled on Steve Dahl at ABX, and he was doing something that nobody had ever done.
I didn't wake up without listening to Steve Dahl. You know, he was the one who started doing all those funny voices, doing all the funny skits.
And the funny thing about Steve, he was doing these voices, right? And you could tell it was Steve doing all the voices.
George Beyer was just 20 years old, going to Wayne State and working at a gas station, and, well, he did some funny voices, too.
Yoo-hoo, Olive. I'm here to babysit Sleepy while you does the grocery shopping.
Soon Beyer turned up on the air, part-time with Dahl and talking like a pro wrestler at W4, another FM rock station.
That's right. That's why they call you the Bruiser. They don't call me the Bruiser for nothing.
I started doing Dick the Bruiser because Steve needed a bodyguard in his, you know, in his radio world. He's becoming so popular, he needs a bodyguard. Well, who's he going to get for a bodyguard? I don't know, he's Dick the Bruiser, a wrestler from Detroit. Well, what does he do? I don't know what he does, Steve, but he talks like this.
Well, when Steve Dahl left for another job in Chicago, Jim Johnson stepped in playing straight man to Beyer's characters and thus became the famous JJ and the Morning Crew.
I was from East Detroit, Jim was from Redford. So why couldn't we talk to somebody who's listening from Taylor?
I'm sure they won't land on the freeway. However, it's a very strange sight to be driving down the Chrysler Freeway. You look up on the horizon, and there are three UFOs reported so far at the Chrysler and 8 Mile.
And that was part of the success, was the Detroitness of the show.
This is Jackie Stewart for W4 Traffic.
It didn't take long for things to heat up. In 1979, WRIF pulled out every stop in the books in the FM ratings war.
Jim and George really started making it happen at W4, and it became very, very clear to us that that was really the missing piece of the radio station. I mean, we always had good morning shows, but we never really had that breakout show.
ABC actually owned WRIF at the time, and, well, they also just happened to own Channel 7 as well.
If you remember the We Got Who You Wanted campaign, right, where they paired up Bill Bonds and John Kelly and Marilyn Turner.
But then they decided, wait a minute, if it worked for our TV stations, why can't this work for our radio stations?
Really, in one day, we brought in Karen Savelli, and we brought in JJ and the Morning Crew, which was really the big deal.
Ken Calvert and Steve Costan joined the team, and thus began some very memorable promotions.
It came out in the fall of 1979. Everybody was talking about that. It really had a big impact.
They called the commercial The Mouth.
You have a remarkable mouth.
WRIF is a remarkable radio station.
It probably was the best radio ad in the history of radio ads.
Meantime, over in Chicago, Steve Dahl was causing quite the stir, blowing up a bunch of disco records at a baseball game.
Disco had us running. It looked like it was going to take over the world and run the Aerosmiths and the Led Zeppelins right out of business. It didn't happen, of course, but it just was the right thing at the right time, and boy, it just took off.
With all that sudden disdain for disco, JJ and the Morning Crew started their own special club.
You know, everybody steals promotions. We thought this would be a good one to steal. Here in Detroit, we've got at least one or two disco stations. So why not go on the attack?
Well, we got to call it something. Okay, what are we going to call it? Well, let's get Detroit in it. Yeah, let's get Detroit in it. Let's get rockers in it. Detroit rockers that hate disco. DRTA. No, that doesn't sound like anything. What are you going to do?
Dred, it turned out to be. Detroit rockers.
Engaged in the abolition of
disco. I think Georgie came up with the card.
Got to have your card. How can you be a card-carrying member if you don't have a card?
Yeah, Dick the Bruiser speaking.
Well, this is fair warning.
Fair warning?
Yeah, this is the Disco Duck.
Disco Duck?
On morning radio, George Beyer's Bruiser was taking on really a life of its own, and soon, well, the real Dick Bruiser even came out to promote the station.
We ain't just fooling around. No time for Bee Gees or John Travolta. We've had enough of that now.
When we put together the Bruiser Band, which really turned out to be one of the greatest promotions ever.
We got three-piece suits.
The Bruiser Band actually opened for a number of national acts, with George Beyer singing parody songs, as you know, The Bruiser.
JJ and the morning crew, Jim and George, were really driving the radio station, and there's no doubt about it. The credo of radio is so goes your morning, so goes your radio station.
Meanwhile, those dred cards were such a hit, they were being upgraded to gold dred cards with actual serial numbers on them.
Somebody came up with a genius idea. I don't know who it was. Why don't we combine this promotion with our advertisers and offer people with these cards discounts at various retailers around town?
It was great. You could go into Harmony House, which was the big record chain in those days, flash your Riff Gold card, and they would knock $1 off any album. And we had the, gold dred card stickers accepted here.
So then it kind of evolved to Detroit Rockers engage in the acquisition of discounts.
Tens, maybe hundreds of thousands of those dred cards actually circulated throughout Metro Detroit. Maybe there's one still in your wallet or one of your drawers somewhere. A reminder how a crazy radio promotion actually worked its way into our pocketbooks and, sure, into our hearts as well.
And welcome back inside the studio for Made in the Motor City, Detroit. Remember when our latest series installment, our episode of things that make us here in Detroit. Fred Nahat here with Bob Scott and our special guests. Erik Smith is here, Amir Jacobson, Benny Napoleon coming through and joining us. And this is really a celebration of our city and those things that we remember, some things that aren't even here anymore, but we're thinking about them. We're tasting them in our imaginations. And you can have your own copy when you make a pledge of support. We want you to have this when you make a pledge of $75 giving level and above, or $6.25 ongoing as a monthly sustainer. That is the film that we'll send along to you. There's a great section on Coneys in this film, and we have the book for you if you'd like to make a pledge, a special Coney Detroit. All of those different varied Coney Islands, variation on a theme, and that theme is unbelievably good taste. And we remember all of that. Coney Islands, strangely, a signature Detroit item. But you can buy whatever items you want. When you say thank you to Public Television, we'll in turn thank you with one of the gifts and more films like this one for another year.
We all remember the wonderful series that Erik Smith had on Channel 7, From the Heart. They were great stories about great Michigan people. Well, you can have a copy of the book, and Erik's going to sign it for you as well. Your copy of From the Heart can be sent to you as a thank you for your pledge of $150 to Detroit Public TV this evening. He's here in the studio and he's sharing his stories with you, but you can also have the stories to read and enjoy anytime you like. And in addition to that, for that $150, you're also going to get a DVD of tonight's program and one of the come-from-behind favorites here in Detroit with respect to brands, and that's Coney Detroit, a wonderful book that was put together by Catherine Young and Joe Grimm, and it has everything you wanted to know about Detroit Coney Islands, and not just Detroit Coney Islands, but also the Coney Islands in Flint and the Coney Islands in Jackson and Coney Islands around the state. But all of those favorites that we have known and grown to love here in Detroit, right here in this book. A pledge of $150, you get Erik's book, you get the Coney book, and you get a DVD of tonight's program. And that's a wonderful thing, considering the fact that you will have done your part to make this great programming on Detroit Public TV happen. It's not really a choice, just act on it. Make it happen.
Making it happen here in the studio with host of the film, our old friend Erik Smith. Thanks for being here. Thanks for doing the film and just being a part of this whole thing.
I've loved every second of it, as you, I hope it shows. But this was just very special. When I got the call, I said, "There's no way I'm not going to do this." Honestly, it interrupted my little getaway for the months of January, February, March down in Florida, where I get away from this kind of weather that you've been enduring. But no, it's just a thrill to be back. It was a thrill to do the whole darn thing, and I love it. And I'm enjoying watching it because this is the first time I've seen it all together. You know, there were bits and pieces here and there, but I love it.
One of the things that's so interesting about this film, and of course we experience it in our own lives, and I'm sure you did several segments during your career, is this thing about the Coney Island. It has nothing to do with Detroit, and yet in some ways it defines us.
It does, and I guess that's what's so much fun about discovering these little elements that I think you're seeing in the show. That, well, I didn't know that. You know, I didn't know the connection between Coney Islands and the real Coney Island. You know, the man said, well, they sort of eat hot dogs there, and we wind up eating them here in Detroit with their version, with the sauce, and the guys at Red Hot's there near the old Ford plant, they have a very special technique about how they want their dogs eaten. You know,
and so much of what is our own experience kind of came out of that whole. Manufacturing mentality, that ethos, and there's much more to come. We want to manufacture some memberships right now. You can help us to do it. Get on our assembly line and make a contribution of support. More with Erik right after this.
Now's your opportunity to make sure that you get a copy of Made in the Motor City, the history of Detroit's iconic brands, for your DVD collection. You know, as a grandpa, I'm one of those people who's trying to tell the young people what it was like back in the day. Well, there's no better way to make sure that they can see it and understand it than a DVD. So it would help, I think it would help a lot of you grandparents out there to acquire a copy of this DVD to show your grandchildren what all of the wonderful brands were here in Detroit back in the day, such as Better Made potatoes and, of course, Velvet peanut butter. And there are a couple of other things that we certainly enjoyed here in Detroit, like Strohs beer. But all of these things helped make a part of our youth a wonderful thing. And Detroit Public TV makes sure that you have all of this information, because when you make that contribution at the $240 level, we're going to send the Detroit Remember When 2 series, that is the Hometown Memories as well as the Automobile Memories, the Made in the Motor City, as well as the history of Detroit Public Television, and Erik Smith's From the Heart and the Coney book. What's not to say no to? You can't say no to that. It's an opportunity. Pledge your support to Detroit Public TV and do it right now.
Sharing our Detroit stories, and I can't think of two better people to do that with. Erik Smith and Amir Makupson telling stories about Detroit for so many years, and we wanted you to come in not only to just class up the joint.
Oh, thank you.
But just to share your memories with us. And watching the first couple of segments, just what is your reaction to these stories of us?
I have lived in Detroit all my life, except as a student, and I absolutely love our city and I love our brands. And I can think of a story about almost every single brand. Quickly, once we used to go to Northland all the time and eat at Big Boy, which was based in Warren. And it was just the thing to do, and to show you how old I am, Big Boy was 55 cents.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just fun to see and hear these things and remember what you were doing and know that it's left an impression. And it's fun and exciting to talk about the things that made the place where you live.
Oh, those onion rings.
Yeah, and a salad and the Big Boy and a Coke. That was like heaven. That was
They
heaven.
also, of course, had an ice cream hot fudge cake, which was sort of derivative of the bumpy cake from Sanders, which is a favorite, I think, of every Detroiter.
Well, mine was the hot fudge sundae. You know,
mine was a cream puff.
See, there you go. There you go.
That's key.
But you couldn't beat that chocolate sauce, whether it was warm.
Cream puff had it.
Okay, all right. Well, you know, different strokes for different folks.
There you go. Yeah.
Just a good old-fashioned Detroit recipe, which
kind of came out, and you know, Fred Saunders is just sort of that ingenuity that uniquely defines Detroit.
I went to their factory. It was on Oakman.
Oh, yeah.
And they had a big picture of Grandpa Fred, is what they called him as you walked in the front door. made all their candy there.
I want to know everything about that in just a moment when we come back. But right now, we want you to make a contribution of support. Amir, Erik, they're going to stay with us, share more stories about Metro Detroit. But right now, let us hear from you. Make that pledge.
This is your opportunity because this wonderful pledge show was made for you to enjoy, made for you to walk down memory lane, have a bit of nostalgia, to make sure that you know that your heritage is safe with Detroit Public Television, because we're going to tell your Detroit story. And we have done so in a variety of ways over the course of the years. And you can have a collection of the Detroit Remember When series of DVDs, the history of Detroit television, the Made in the Motor City, the history of Detroit's iconic brands, as well as Detroit Remember When, the hometown memories and traditions, as well as the American Dream and the automobile. Those 3 DVDs, as well as the 2 books, the Coney book and Erik Smith From the Heart, are yours for a pledge of $240. That could be $20 a month. Become a sustainer. We'd love to thank you by sending this wonderful selection of DVDs and books for you and your family to enjoy. This is an opportunity for you to share with your friends and your children some memories of a Detroit that is past. Of course, a few of those brands are still around, but many of them have faded away. I didn't even know about the Vernors Pops, the other flavors. That was news to me, and I'm sure there are other things that you've seen in this program that are news to you as well. Well, make that contribution to Detroit Public TV so that we can continue to bring you these great surprises about our history.
The man that we came to help us tell the story is filmmaker Bill Kubota. Your vision, your research, boy, there's a lot, I guess, in this film, Bill. It's what you couldn't fit into it.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff that was in it, was out. Some of it went back in again. Some of you had to have in it, and other stuff we should have in it that we don't because there's just not enough time.
Well, we want to make sure that we get lots of pledges in so that we can make episode 2, but it wouldn't be a conversation with a filmmaker unless we asked you about your process. So how is it that you, I mean, this is a big area to attack, iconic brands of Detroit, a big topic. How'd you start?
Well, you do all the stuff you know.
Yeah.
All those, the foods we saw in the first part here. And then what else kind of that we don't know as much about that I want to know more about? And that was the opportunity to learn more about some of the topics that maybe we'll see in the next part. The Coney stuff you kind of know.
Yeah.
The pizza stuff we kind of know, but we don't really know. And that's what I asked all the people at our office, what do you really know? And they didn't really know. They knew some of it. We all know bits and pieces of these histories, but we don't know the whole thing.
What I found really interesting, and that's what really spoke to me in my sort of coming of age, was the whole thing with the riff, and Johnson and Bayer, you know, Penhollow, Calvert, Savelli, the whole lineup. That spoke to me, and it was an interesting inclusion in this film from my viewpoint.
We talked about that because our editor, Scott Kemp, said, why don't you do something about the dred card? Because he's younger than me. And I'm thinking, yeah, we've got to look at some of the stuff that other people remember. Some of us get a little old.
Yeah.
And we think about stuff way back. Let's get to a little bit closer. And that's 30 years old now.
I don't even want to think about it. Well, Bill Kubota, thank you. It's a masterpiece. Once again, we appreciate you doing it, and we hope we are able to have you do it again.
Thanks.
Continuing along, folks, we are looking for your contribution right now. Get folks like Bill Kubota and all of our friends that have participated in this film to work more on these stories that we share together on PBS. Continuing along, Made in the Motor City, just a tremendous, kind of a, stroll down memory lane and a little shopping trip for some of it. Saunders, Vernors, of course, Better Made, Superior Chips. We're going to get into the pizza just a little bit, which is uniquely Detroit. And you can have all of this and continue to walk with us. When you make a contribution of support right now, maybe the $75 giving level and above, made in the Motor City, $6.25 ongoing as a monthly sustainer to this station. Hey, you want the Coney book? That's a whole story about everything Coney Island in Metro Detroit, the big ones, the out-of-the-way ones, the ones that are your favorite, the ones you've never heard of before. Think about that at $90 or $7.50, or put them together for a kind of a cool special combo, the Coney book and the DVD. Plus, we're going to throw in Erik Smith's From the Heart, those beautiful essays, poetry and prose from Detroit's, well, storyteller, poet laureate, I think, Erik Smith. On television for so many years with so many of us telling our stories. Or if you like that big Motor City combo, Made in Detroit, Erik's book, of course, the DVD of this film, plus we're going to throw in 2 additional films, The History of Detroit Television and Detroit Remember When, Motor City Memories and Hometown Traditions, and the Coney book. Lots in that package at $240. But lots more television to come with your contribution. Do that with us. Call that number, 1-800-859-9887, or, as always, online, dptv.org.
You know, when it comes to nearly everything you ever wanted to know about Detroit Coneys, it's Coney Detroit. It's right here in the book. It's by Catherine Young and Joe Grimm, and it has such great information about the Coney artist and the House of Dogs and beyond Coney Highland, Leo's, of course, and the Flint Coney dogs and the Jackson Coney dogs and the low-fat Coney dogs and Billy's Coney dogs, and not just the information, but great photos as well, because if you have eaten at any of these establishments, you will recognize the places, you'll recognize the faces, and you will have a great time reading and enjoying this great Coney book. For a pledge of $90, we'll send that along as a thank you from Detroit Public TV. For a pledge of $75, we'll send along a copy of the DVD that we're all enjoying here today about the wonderful, historic, and iconic brands that Detroit has produced. Consumerables, if you will, in terms of potato chips and Sanders fudge and velvet peanut butter, and of course coming up, Jackson's Auto Supply and Buddy's Pizza. All of our favorites are here in this program, a pledge of $75, and you have those to enjoy. But if you would like to have the collection of Detroit Remember When DVDs, we'll send along the double Hometown Memories and Automobile Memories, as well as the History of Detroit Television and the iconic brands, as well as the 2 books, a pledge of $240, and we'll make it happen. Now you make it happen. Reach for the phone.
Back with Erik Smith and Amir Jacobson. Folks, where we left off. We were going inside Saunders. I should almost have Erik ask you this question because he did so many profiles in so many cool places. But tell us a little bit about that. Behind the scenes, I was thinking maybe it was like Lucy and Ethel in the chocolate factory. What was that like to be involved in Saunders?
Well, it was just neat because it was in the old factory days where it was a factory like Lucy and Ethel. But you go in and you see this big picture of Grandpa Fred, and then they take you kind of around and over there. And they had the little candy on the conveyor belts, and they were picking up, and they had vats where they were mixing things. It was the factory. It was where all of the Sanders stuff was made. So it was just kind of exciting to be there, you know, because I loved everything they made.
And Fred was on the wall there.
And Fred was there looking at us, smiling down at us, that's for sure.
I didn't realize that he had a big hand in Sweetest Day here in, actually it was developed, I guess, in Cleveland, but Fred managed to take the idea and make it our own here in Michigan. So,
it's exciting to see the new stores now that are in the malls, and the strictly Sanders stores.
Well, I think so many of us went into Saunders, and our especially when we were younger, our eyes were bigger than our stomachs. You got that counter order, a banana split or whatever it was, and boy, you didn't want to walk away from it. But the little ones,
cream puff.
Cream puff, right? Exactly.
Hot fudge sundae.
Coming back to that. Well, listen. I also want to talk a little bit about this book. We want to thank you for donating these books. And when people make a contribution, we're throwing these in at the combo levels. Tell us a little bit about what went into this.
Well, this was fun. This happened because, very honestly, the Scripps family, when I was at Channel 7, we were pretty in the heavy, hard news. And they said, we need honestly to tell some stories that are other than bad news, you know. And so we came up with this idea of From the Heart. And we wound up, I think there are 45 or 50 stories in the book that I actually put on television. And I think I said somewhere in there that they're kind of ordinary stories about extraordinary people, but they're us. They're Michigan folks, they're Detroit folks who have challenged themselves, or maybe faced a challenge, or done something that we think altogether is outside the mainstream, and just a nice way to recognize those people who don't get recognized. And we all know they're all over the place.
And let's do some hard news right now. Amir, Vernors, or Faygo?
I think I'll say Faygo.
Well, it's a variety of flavors, but
Yeah,
there's something for everyone. Listen, there is something for everyone on public television, and we appreciate you folks coming in so much, and we want to encourage people to make a contribution of support. Much more to come with our special guests, much more of the film coming your way, and much more public television, PBS, for another year when you give.
You know, we're enjoying the pleasure of his company and his anecdotes and stories this evening. He's the person that Tim Kiska says is the master storyteller of Detroit television. Bill Bonds put it this way: he is far and away the best combination writer, reporter, use of language guy I've ever worked with and this market has ever seen. Right on, Bill. That's a brief description of the kind of material you're going to get in Erik Smith's From the Heart, part of the combination package that we're offering this evening. For a pledge of $150, we'll send along Erik's From the Heart, we'll send along the Coney Detroit book, and we're going to send along the program that we're enjoying this evening, Made in the Motor City, the history of Detroit's iconic brands. This is an opportunity for you to get a piece of Detroit's history in a variety of ways. Of course, if you want even more ways, why not make that pledge at the $240 level, because we're going to toss in 2 more Detroit Remember When DVDs, as well as the one that we're watching tonight. Make that pledge.
Heading back to the film, much more to come, much more public television, but right now this final reminder that we want to send you the copy of Made in the Motor City. And really, when you make this contribution of support at $75 or $6.25 ongoing as a monthly sustainer to this station, you will ensure that really, quite literally, we'll go out and we'll make the next episode, so because there's so much uncovered, so think about that. Let's also go to the $240 giving level, guys, real quick. It's all of this. It's a really nice Motown Made in the Motor City package. It includes the film we're enjoying tonight, the history of Detroit television with everything you can remember: Bonds, Kelly, Ackerman, Turner, Johnny Ginger, of course, Robin Seymour, all of that, Soupy, the whole thing. And in addition to that, the Made in the Motor City Detroit Hometown Traditions, which is Hudson's, Black Bottom, the Boulevard, Tiger Stadium, the Lions, all of that stuff. Plus the Coney book and From the Heart from our good friend Erik Smith, who's going to send this along to you when you make a contribution of support. We much appreciate that. But all you have to do right now is call that number on the screen. Heading back to the final segment. This is your moment. We talk about moments in public television so often. Take advantage of it. It's your time. Pick up the phone. It just takes a couple of minutes. Call that number on the screen right now, or go online, dptv.org, and let us continue to provide you with commercial-free programming. Oh, the very best that you'll see and that you'll find anywhere on television. It's right here, and with more stories of Detroiters for you coming up.
Woodward Avenue, Royal Oak. Boy, have there been some changes since the 1940s.
That was farmland.
And the rest, there was no houses, there was nothing. There really was absolutely nothing on Woodward Avenue.
John and Iola Sobek were here not long after the war ended.
Well, she was mixing the mortar and I was laying the block. That's how we started.
The Sobeks built an ice cream parlor.
My in-laws, they said, you flipped your lid, you're going way in the country.
They bought a chicken broaster and then made chicken.
The minute I started selling that, we couldn't cook enough, so I ended up buying another unit, and we worked the hell out of all of them, you know.
Now there are chicken shacks all over Metro Detroit, the largest independent roasted chicken operation in the entire country. And of course, as they were building their business, Iola and John actually watched automotive history pass right by their windows.
This boulevard, beautiful boulevard, it was just this long expanse.
Woodward is the longest 4-lane highway in the world.
Woodward Avenue in the 1960s. You might say it was the personification of U.S. car culture.
You know, maybe you flunked a test that morning, but I could go get in that thing and go out there and cruise, and people still think I'm pretty cool.
Well, this is the Motor City. You're born with a steering wheel in your hand almost.
They made people excited.
It was sound and speed and smoke and noise.
The youth market became a real mover and shaker.
And it made brands at that time.
The love affair with the car really got going after World War II.
5 million young people came home from the wars. And nobody had made cars since 1942. So there were no cars. And if you didn't have lots of money, you kind of had to build your own.
This was horsepower fever, Detroit style.
It was oval track racing, circle track racing, sprint cars, hardtops.
Channel 7's Fred Wolf broadcast from Motor City Speedway over in Warren, just north of 8 Mile.
Fred Wolf's famous line, he would say, "Trouble in the turn." We'd wait for that because we knew something bad was going to happen.
There were racers like Iggy Katona and Jack Goodwin who ran a car with Angelo Giampetroni.
Angelo's nickname is Junior, and Junior, he wanted to race every day. He wanted to be in that industry.
Just after the war, Angelo put a motor on his bicycle and he rode it to a store that was called Gratiot Auto Supply.
After school, I would stop there. They gave me a job sweeping floors, and we started selling alloy wheels, speed equipment, engine parts.
It became a natural advent of creating these vehicles, originally called hot rods, that there were at stoplights throughout the world what were called impromptu acceleration contests.
It wasn't drag racing, it was comparing performance.
Drag racing is credited with starting in California. 2 cars side by side, pedal to the metal for a quarter mile.
Most of the car magazines were all out of California, and they were all about drag racing. And there might be one magazine on the news rack that was NASCAR.
Here in 1953, hot rodders were running weekends on a Livonia service road over by a new GM plant.
People were hungry for this.
Drag racing got pretty popular because it was not too expensive for the average guy to get involved in. He could take his normal car, put 2 carburetors on it, put headers on it. For not a lot of money, he could have a lot of fun and go fast.
In Highland Park, some young auto engineers were working nights on their own cars on top of their own full-time jobs at Chrysler.
You're talking about a corporation that had been tuned to build cars for 50-year-old guys. The middle management did not really understand what we were doing.
They called themselves the Ram Chargers. Their car, the High and Mighty.
It kind of looked like a gigantic, tall, ugly bug. And they couldn't get anybody to sponsor it because it was too ugly. So they finally found a dealer here in town and said, well, if you put some fenders on it, on the back, and paint it, well, then we'll let you put our name on it.
In 1957, Motor City Dragway opened way out in New Baltimore. And then came another drag strip just south of Detroit.
Gilbert Cohn, who was competing in drag racing at that time, was able to locate some land and buy it. And he and his mother built Detroit Dragway, and in 1959 and 1960, the National Hot Rod Association held their national championships there.
Unbelievable hit. Crowds, they couldn't handle them.
Everybody and anybody who was drag racing at that time showed up.
Then came more racing and more local racers. So many, in fact, the cars often had to run 4 at a time.
Then it became more than just a drag race, it became an entertainment experience.
John Lundberg was the track announcer.
All the dealers of the major brands sponsored race cars at Detroit Dragway. Stark Hickey Ford and Bob Ford and Royal Pontiac, course, you had Hodges Dodges, who sponsored the Ram Chargers.
The Ram Chargers began altering new Dodges with what would become an iconic paint job.
Everybody knew, oh, that's the candy stripe car, was the only one out there.
Della Woods and her brother Bernie actually found their Dodge Racer at a used car lot.
For brother and sister, we fought some of the time, but we got along pretty good. And, when she wanted to start driving the car, I thought, well, why not?
And we put Bernella Brother and Sister Racing. Bernella means Bernie and Della combined. And the first time we took it out on the street and almost got in a lot of trouble over it. And we said, this is it. We're going to the racetrack.
Detroit Dragway was certainly packing them in on Saturdays, but owner Gil Cohn wanted more action.
So one night he came to us and said, we need more people on Sunday, and I expect you to get excited and talk about that. And if you don't, it will affect your paycheck. And so, boy, we would scream it at the top of our Sunday at Detroit Dragway, and we just, and we laughed as we were doing it, and we thought it was the greatest joke in the world. Well, the crowds got better on Sunday, and Gil liked it.
Sunday at Detroit Dragway.
He liked it so much that he had some famous Detroit radio personalities scream about Detroit Dragway over the airwaves.
And suddenly it was on Joel Sebastian's Saturday night program.
Sunday.
Then everybody heard it.
Racing begins at 2 p.m.
By the mid-'60s, hot rodding was driving hundreds of millions of dollars into the U.S. economy. In Detroit, Angelo Giampetroni was the man to see at Gratiot Auto Supply, billed as the world's largest hot rod shop.
He had all the hot rod stuff. He had what you needed, and if he didn't, he could get it for you.
Angelo started selling parts by mail order, and then he added an iconic spokesperson.
You remember all those girls that kissed the winner in the winner's circle, and the most iconic was Linda Vaughn. If she wasn't the best marketing person I ever met in my life, I'm just kidding.
Linda Vaughn was already famous promoting Hearst shifters with Jack Watson, so it was just a natural that she would become the face of Gratiot Auto Supply.
She knew about racing. She knew about headers. She knew about mag wheels. It was a very successful program.
Soon the car makers jumped in with both feet, and the muscle car was born.
It's your Pontiac dealer.
You had top management saying, we need to be part of that.
That you could actually literally walk in and buy those race cars from the dealer and drive them on the street.
And you could readily identify with what was on the racetrack. And so it was race on Saturday night, sell on Monday.
Ford built lightweight Fairlanes and Mustangs with big engines that started beating the Chryslers. In response, Ram Charger Jim Thornton altered their Dodge to give it a little more grip.
So he came up with the idea of moving the rear axle 15 inches further forward than a stock vehicle, and the front wheels 10 inches forward. Frankly, the cars really looked funny.
That's where the funny car name came from. Ford called the Chrysler guys and said, hey, you guys have some real funny cars out there.
And a year later, the cars were changing again.
They really got funny when they went to tube frames and flip bodies and things that they were not real cars at that point. We started off with gasoline. By the middle of the year, we were running methanol, and we were running nitro at the end of the year.
Now, all of a sudden, these cars that were definitely borderline at 600 horsepower were making 1,000, and they became missiles.
The Bernella racing team ran a Dodge they called the Funny Honey.
When these cars fire up, you relax. When you get in the car, you don't even know that you have a crowd. Your focus is going down the track. You can be as nervous as you've ever been, and they bring the body down, and you just calm right down. And all you can think about is winning.
Della kept driving funny cars well into the 1990s, breaking some speed records all along the way. Those muscle cars, well, they disappeared in the 70s, hit by high insurance rates and the OPEC oil crisis.
When you go out with your friends, do you ever drink beer? Pop, come on, son, be honest with me. Do you drink beer? Of course I drink beer, Pop. I'm 29 years old.
If you're of a certain age and you lived in Detroit, you know about America's only fire-brewed beer.
Pop, listen to me. I drink Strohs. Honest.
Son, your mother and I, we only want what's best for you.
Hey, Caesar, what's with this fire brewing business?
I don't know, man. Wait a minute. Hey, Sam.
Huh?
Fire brew, what is it?
Hey, Nick! You drink Strohs? Fire brewing! What is it? What?
I'm not doing this because Strohs is America's only fire-brewed beer. What do I know from fire brewing?
Their beer was not made in electric kettles. It had a flame underneath it, man, and that made it special.
And I'm not doing it because
According to Strohs, fire brewing mellowed the beer, made it smoother.
I'm doing it because I love the taste. And besides, I'm getting a lot of bread to admit it.
It dates all the way back to 1909 when Julius Stroh was touring breweries in Germany.
So we tasted and tested and compared.
The styles of beer that he liked particularly turned out to be fire-brewed. They were brewed in kettles heated with a direct flame.
The Stroh family had already been making beer in Detroit for half a century when the fire brewing process started.
So my great-great-grandfather arrived here with $200 in 1849. Well, that was enough to get started.
Bernard Stroh came with a wave of Germans to the Midwest, political refugees of the German Revolution of 1848.
Bernard started the business in 1850, just east of downtown Detroit, off Gratiot Avenue. By the 1860s, he built a great big new brewery, and he was the largest brewer in Michigan by then.
When Prohibition hit Michigan in 1917, Strohs actually survived by making other things.
We made soda pop, ginger ale. We had our own line of orange soda, cola, and all sorts of things. And then ice cream.
Strohs made a malt extract, supposedly for cooking and as a nutritional supplement, but, well, we all know it was really for people who wanted to make their own illegal brew in the basement. Few brewers actually survived Prohibition, the Depression, and then the war after that, but the post-war boom was really pretty good to those who did.
Pfeiffer got very big, Goebel got very big, Altus got very big.
By the late 1950s, the big brand in Detroit was Goebel, Joe Bell to some.
That was the spoof on it. Pabst Blue Ribbon were PBRs, and that was called Joe Bell.
Joe Bell. I've heard of J.C. Penney, but not Joe Bell.
It's football once again with Goebel 22.
How's this? Van Patrick was at the mic for Goebel when the Detroit Lions won their last NFL championship back in 1957.
Lions 28, Chicago 10.
Back then, Van Patrick was also the voice of the Detroit Tigers.
And one of his famous expressions, here's the pitch, it's a long one, oh, it's foul by a Goebel beer case.
When Strohs became the official beer of the Tigers, Van Patrick was suddenly out, replaced by an announcer from Baltimore, some guy named Ernie Harwell. The Great Brewery Strike of 1958 hurt the Detroit beer business so badly it really never recovered. Beer from St. Louis and Milwaukee suddenly moved right in.
Pabst became the biggest selling brand in Michigan as a consequence of that strike. In order for us to grow, we had to expand outside Michigan.
Goebel went bankrupt, acquired by Strohs. Pfeiffer moved out of state while Strohs hired New York ad man Bill Bernbach. Bernbach had created the iconic Volkswagen Beetle campaign, Think Small. But in the late 60s, Strohs was thinking big.
Strohs brings you this 8-pack to remind you how fast our beer disappears.
The advertising worked.
Yank, what about some of that Strohs beer what you've been talking about?
Strohs quickly became a national brand, buying other beers and breweries along the way.
Pick it up, mate. We don't want the blokes to know we've been here.
But the costs, they were just too high. The Stroh Brewery on Gratiot shut down in 1985.
So here's a toast.
The first era of Detroit-made beer had come to a close.
From one beloved to another,
Strohs.
Everybody, square pizza.
Square. They make a square pizza, and that was weird.
What, are these people crazy?
No one even heard of square pizza. It was unheard of.
You fell in love with it. It was great.
But there's purists that will come in and say, nope, cheese and pepperoni, original sauce, that's it.
Detroit-style pizza is going to be something when every time you take a bite, you're going to taste every product that's on there.
It became sort of the Detroit style, as they're referring to it now, but it's actually Sicilian style that originated in Detroit.
Detroiters came back from the war, and some had acquired, well, a more refined palate. Some were stationed in Great Britain, and so they wanted English food.
Fish and chip places like on Gratiot, where we were at, there was 3 or 4 of them in 2 miles.
On the east side, Gus Guerra owned a tavern at 6 Mile and Coney.
It was a gathering place, like Buddy's Rendezvous. Let's rendezvous at Buddy's, because the guys would come in and play cards.
Gus came from San Marino, that little country surrounded by Italy, and he had married into a Sicilian family.
And my father said, you know what, he says, there really no pizzas here. We got 1 pizza in the city. So we started making pizza.
Buddy's Rendezvous was at the front end of what soon would become Detroit's pizza craze.
Everybody was throwing up pizzerias.
There was lots of pizza, round pizza, but Buddy's stayed square and thicker. And they used trays that were supposed to hold small car parts or even catch oil dripping from milling machines.
It's a labor-intensive process to do our pizza. It requires multiple stretchings where you take a round pizza, you take the dough, you flip it, twist it, and it's ready to go. With us, it's got to sit and proof. That part of it, it didn't maybe appeal to a lot of pizza people at the time.
Buddy's added one more ingredient, too, brick cheese. Brick cheese from Wisconsin, another place with a lot of Poles and Germans, just like over on Detroit's east side.
The pepperoni is underneath the cheese, which is unique. What it's known for is the blend of the cheese and the flavors of the sauce with the dough, creating this crunchy pizza that has got a great taste.
Yep, business was going good all right, but it wasn't going quite so well for Gus.
My father left Buddy's in 1953. There was a little internal problem between the partners, which can happen in any relationship.
2 guys, both named Jimmy, wanted Buddy's, and so Gus sold it to him.
He promised Buddy's he'd move it at least 2 miles away, and he found a little farmhouse in East Detroit. It was called Cloverleaf Barn when he bought it.
While Gus made his pizza north of 8 Mile Road on Gratiot back in Detroit, these women, led by a Sicilian named Coney Pincinato, kept faithful to the original Buddy's recipe. Wesley Pecula started as a dishwasher there when he was just in high school.
Whatever Connie tells you, you do. Whatever Savina tells you, you do. And Anna, the one on the left, you could see the size of her arm, so trust me, I listen to her more than anybody.
By the 1960s, Buddy's had become an East Side institution. Sports teams that played at nearby Jane Field held pizza parties there. Sometimes, hey, they even lined up around the block just waiting for seats.
Let's put it this way. In 1970, Buddy's was the story in that area. They had other places. I mean, they had other pizzerias on the East Side. There was many of them, but none of them had the reputation that Buddy's had.
My parents went there around 1969, and my parents were just loved the atmosphere.
1970 was the year that really changed everything. Buddy's was sold again to Bill and Shirley Jacobs this time, who arrived just in time for the great pizza contest created by the Detroit News.
We had a good pizza, and we thought we'd have a good shot at it.
In a city full of round pizzas, it was between the Cloverleaf and Buddy's for the squares, but only one of them would get to compete.
My father called about it, my brother called about it, and they told him that you're excluded, you can't enter the contest because you're not inside Detroit city limits.
As the omen was, Buddy's was picked as the best pizza place in the city.
Buddy's took first place, and it hurt us, I know that, but there was nothing we could do about it.
By the late 70s, Buddy's was adding another location out in Warren.
Every story got better by the day, so at some point it became legendary.
In 1980, Ronald Reagan came to town for the Republican National Convention. It was big news, of course, and Buddy's decided to feed square pizza to all those hungry reporters down at Cobo Hall, and they liked it.
Every news person you could mention, every anchor, signed that Buddy's book. Said better than New York. I mean, we had Ted Koppel, this knocks anything out of New York. I mean, we had so many of those quotes.
Now Buddy's is spread out all over Metro Detroit.
Maybe now it's a brand. It's the test of time.
How much time? Well, almost 70 years. And Cloverleaf is still going strong, too. And then there's Louis. Now, we've got to mention Louis. That's Louis Pizza without an E. He made it originally at Buddy's, and then he made it at Shields, and, well, he decided to do it all by himself right here in Hazel Park nearly 40 years ago. Detroit Square Pizza is good, of course, but we haven't talked about Detroit's iconic round pizzas. Well, maybe more on that next time. But wait a minute. Gee, what about the other iconic Detroit brands? Well, let's see, there's Faygo, Big Boy, of course, Kowalski Quality Sausage, Kmart, Honey Baked Ham, Hudson's Department Store, and then Crowley's, Kern's, B. Siegel, well, Hughes Hatcher Suffren bought suits there. Mickey Shore knew him. Boy, the Mick. Pavolia, good buddies. Oh, Highland Appliance. Ollie Fredder and his 5 pounds of free coffee. Vlasic Pickles. We've missed a lot of stuff.
Absolutely incredible. This film, Made in the Motor City, those things we remember, those things that define us, those things we enjoy in life, or some of them at this point only in our dreams, recollections, and imaginations. Hope you've enjoyed it, and more than that, you'll make a contribution of support. Fred Nahat here in the studio with Bob Scott and more special guests to come. But right now, we're offering you this opportunity to have this copy for your very own of this film, the latest in this series, Detroit Remember When. It's Made in the Motor City, a terrific film from Bill Kubota in association with the documentary unit led by Ed Moore here at Detroit Public Television. And this is, of course, our gift to you when you gift the station your very valuable viewership and your membership support. That's how it works. We also have kind of a cool thing, the Coney book, if that's right for you, kind of a fun look and page turner through the history of the Coney business here in Detroit, and a business that just tastes so good. Or at $150, the book and the DVD. But decide right now. Time's running out on Made in the Motor City here on PBS.
Now is the time for all good viewers to reach for the phone and pledge their support to Detroit Public Television. Why is that? Because we have presented you with a program that no one else is going to offer. Detroit Public Television has established a franchise of Detroit Remember When shows that give us glimpses back into our history here in Detroit. Nostalgia pieces, if you will, that point out how wonderful times were and hopefully how wonderful times will be since we've got that great history. For your pledge of $75, we'll send along Made in the Motor City, the history of Detroit's iconic brands, and we'd love for you to have that. Of course, if you would like to have that wonderful Coney book, we can make that happen as well. This is everything you wanted to know about Detroit Coneys, or nearly everything for sure, done by Catherine Young and Joe Grimm, yours for a pledge of $90. And then if you'd like to make that all-important $150 pledge, that's $12.50 per month if you become a sustaining member, and we'll send along Erik Smith's wonderful From the Heart book. It's a great read, as well as the Coney book and a copy of tonight's program. But if you want the whole package of Detroit Remember When tonight, we'll send along the 2 books, as well as tonight's program, Motor City Iconic Brands, and 2 chapters from Detroit's Remember When series.
And joining us once again, the host of the program, the perfect person to do it, Erik Smith. Erik, there's a saying in sports that players play. In your case, storytellers, they tell stories, and it's so great to have you back in the saddle again doing this on public television.
Well, thanks, Fred. I appreciate that. It feels awfully good to be doing it, to be honest with you. We've scratched the surface here, and you know, Bill and I have talked about it. There are so many brands in the city of Detroit. We haven't really, you know, just couldn't do it all. And so maybe there's another one out there. I think at the end of the show there, I was reminiscing about all of the untold stories that are still out there. And so maybe we'll get a chance one of these days to tell another one. If we can generate enough interest and, you know, get enough pledges going, maybe we can do another film. So.
We'd love to do it, and especially in that last segment. Starting out with racing and just what the automotive culture means to us. So many brands, but just this experience, and you can almost sort of smell the exhaust.
You can smell it, and I could smell a pizza too at the same time. You know, we are linked to the automobile, and very fortunate because we are. And that is just one portion of the story, you know, the drag racing and how that the muscle cars all came about. Exciting part of our culture back there in the 70s, and really I think we're seeing a resurgence of interest in the automobiles again now. And you know, now we got electric cars that are going 0 to 60 in, I don't know, 5 seconds or something ridiculous like that. But
we are going to continue to encourage people to make contributions of support. Again, whatever giving level is right for you, but if that $240 level is right, we have that great Made in the Motor City package with Erik's book and a couple, 3 DVDs for you, and the Coney book as well. Do what's right for you and for the station by pledging now.
Are you familiar with Pete's Coney Island in Pontiac? Well, it's in here. And if you would like to know more about the American Coney Islands downtown, well, they're in here as well. And there's so much information about all the wonderful Coney Islands, or many of the wonderful Coney Islands that are right here in Metro Detroit, the various Coney Island chains, as well as the Coney Mall Pioneer, and Athens Coney Island, and the Jackson Coney Islands from Jackson, Michigan are in here as well. And Dooley's Place, that's here for your $90 contribution. That's $7.50 a month. We'll send along the Coney book. But if you would like to come aboard what we call the combo today, that's the Made in the Motor City, the iconic Detroit brands, and the Coney book. We'll send that along to you for a pledge of $150. That's $12.50 per month as a sustainer. Your way of saying you support Detroit Public Television and you like this kind of program. Perhaps you've already got copies of the other Detroit Remember When shows. Well, this is your opportunity not only to get those shows, but as the new show as well, and 2 books. The 2 books being Erik Smith's From the Heart and the Coney book for a pledge of $240. We'd love for you to talk to one of these volunteers, and they'd love to talk to you too, to take your pledge.
Well, Benny Napoleon, Sheriff of Wayne County, lifelong Detroiter, back with Erik Smith and me. And Benny, that last segment started out with racing,
yes.
Then beer, then pizza. That stuff all kind of goes together. Your thoughts?
Goes together. Well, you know, I'm a Buddy's Pizza guy. You know, it was I used to being a cop. It was right across the street from the precinct over there on Coney and Davison. So. Spent a lot of time in Buddy's Pizza. I'm not a beer drinker, so I can't really talk about that. But,
and you never ran a street race, right?
I've never done a street race ever in my life. But yeah, I mean, that's Detroit, man. Cars, beers, and pizza, and Coney's. I mean,
definitely.
It's just a great time in the city.
You know, Erik, the story about the pizza, sort of how Buddy's begat Cloverleaf, and it begat Shields and Louie's. Yeah. It's a whole family tree of square Detroit pizza.
It is. You know, and when we were putting it all together, I was kind of scratching my head. Who went where and did what? And you know, it's an interesting trace of the pizza makers. And I was completely shocked when I learned that the square pizzas were being made in automotive drip pans or something. I said, wait a minute, what are you
thought about
talking?
how many times I've eaten that pizza. The same thing, man. It was funny, but
no doubt.
It was good.
Yeah.
Well, definitely a Detroit story. And as we do in television sometimes, I have to make a correction now for everyone in the viewing area. It's Sanders. Saunders. I'm sorry I committed the cardinal
We
sin.
said it right, didn't we?
Well, you did, of course.
Oh.
You're the host of the program. But we did get a couple of calls in correcting my pronunciation.
Well, good.
I apologize for that. I don't apologize for public television, though. It's the very best there is, and it depends on you and your contribution. Love to hear from you. Call or click right now.
You know, everybody's excited about the next wave of made in Detroit products. Whether they be software or tangible goods, there are a lot of good things coming out of Detroit these days, but let's not forget there were a lot of great things that came out of Detroit in yesteryear, and we're talking about some of them this evening. The history of Detroit's iconic brands, yours for a pledge of $75, and you will enjoy the program that we presented this evening at any time you want without Bob and Fred interrupting. But also, we'll send along to you, if you make that pledge at the $150 level, we'll send along a copy of Erik Smith's From the Heart, as well as Coney, Detroit, the wonderful book done by Catherine Young and Joe Grimm. That's an opportunity for you to have two great pieces of reading material and tonight's program. But if you'd like to have the whole package, make that pledge at the $240 level, for which we'll send along to you two additional DVDs. One is the history of Detroit television, and the other is Motor City Memories and Hometown Traditions, and also features the American Dream Automobile. That's 3 DVDs and 2 books for that pledge of $240. Now, you know what that $240 is going to do? It's going to go into our programming production pot that allows us to make more great programs like this for you to enjoy. Your investment has a dividend. More shows for you.
Well, more shows for you, more films, thanks to folks like filmmaker Bill Kubota. Bill joining us, a terrific film, and I don't mind giving a little behind-the-scenes information. Boy, right up to the last minute, we're changing, we're moving things around. We want the very best film to premiere tonight, and thank you for that.
Yeah, I kind of take more time than I should, but it takes a while. It takes time to get all the material together, get people to come over to talk, and
yeah.
But you know, we got it on.
Hey, listen, anything worth it is worth it to take the time doing it. Now, the last segment, automotive racing, beer, and pizza. Probably don't want to do all those at the same time. But let's focus on the beer for a second in the film. What an interesting story, the Stroh family coming out, you know, sort of a German influence. But what a nice story you got to tell.
Well, it is interesting that really is the German beers were the beers. Budweiser in St. Louis, all the beers in Milwaukee, and Detroit had Strohs. And they kind of overtook the original ales that were English beers. Mm-hmm. But by the late 1800s, 1900s, it was the Germans that were the brewers.
And of course,
in the Midwest, especially, and a lot had to do with the Great Lakes and the water and that sort of thing.
It's a great place to be to manufacture a liquid product. But then when Prohibition came, they quickly were flexible enough to get into the ice cream business.
Well, some were, and others just went away. And it's interesting in talking to John Stroh, he points out there was a lot of anti-German sentiment around the time of Prohibition because we were at war with Germany just before all that happened. And in fact, Michigan's Prohibition took effect before nationwide it happened. So Prohibition was a really tough thing for a lot of the brewers, and just a few really made it through past Prohibition. And then after World War II, it was down to just a few more. I mean, it just really whittled down.
Really a tremendous story and so much detail. Bill Kubota, thank you for telling it. We hope to allow you the chance to tell another one.
Love to do it.
Folks, listen, get to the phone right now. We want you to have a copy of the DVD, the $75 giving level and above. Your pledge keeps public television on the air.
Square pizza, potato chips, velvet peanut butter, Sanders fudge, Vernors ginger ale, all wonderful things from our past, from our youth that we all enjoyed back in the day. Well, We're revitalizing those memories here this evening with this wonderful Made in the Motor City production of the history of Detroit's iconic brands for a pledge of $75. And we'll make sure that you have a copy of this wonderful DVD for you and your family to enjoy. But if you'd like to make a larger contribution, perhaps at the $150 level, we'll send along not only tonight's program, but also Coney, Detroit by Catherine Young and Joe Grimm, a wonderful opportunity for you to know everything there is to know about Detroit Coneys. But if you'd really like the big package, we have a wonderful 2-book, 3-DVD combo, and that those 3 DVDs are tonight's program. The Detroit Remember When Traditions and Memories, as well as the history of Detroit television, as well as the 2 books. That's right, the 2 books are included as well. Coney, Detroit, and Erik Smith's From the Heart. An opportunity for you to support Detroit Public TV at the 240 level.
Well, as we spend this time sharing together our memories, our recollections, our collective achievements, and of course those in these products of our ancestors, those that came before us and sort of carved out this path and this experience and this trademark that really became the Motor City. Yeah, it's the hot dogs, it's the hot fudge, it's the soda pop, the beer, the automotive racing, and yeah, the pizza, but in the end, it's us, it's the people. Hardworking, diverse people in the end in this city that collectively just have a great big heart, and they've been keeping public television on the air, always rising to whatever cause appears before us, whether it's wartime or in peace, or whether it's just a terrific cause or a good time. Detroiters show up. It's in our fabric. And these are the stories we want to continue to be able to tell. And it's also interesting that is the characteristic and the trait that keeps this television station on the air. Keep it going. Much more to come. More stories like this when you make a pledge. Please do it now.
One of the things that we enjoy around here is making programs like this and listening to the viewer reaction. And the viewer reaction that we respond to most are pledges, the phones ringing. You heard that phone ring? That's what drives the action around here. Your phone calls, your pledges of support to Detroit Public Television are what drives wonderful programs like this. That's what makes them happen. You, the individual viewer, reaching for the phone and saying, I want to make sure that these kinds of shows continue on my TV. Well, a pledge of $75 will send along tonight's program so that you can recall, the Strohs beer and all of the square pizza and the Coneys and the Sanders fudge and the Vernors ale, all for your family to enjoy. And a pledge of $90 will send along the Coney book, which is an opportunity for you to learn as much as you ever wanted to know about Detroit Coneys, as well as Coneys from around Michigan. But there are a lot of viewers who are responding this evening saying they would like to have a copy of tonight's show and the Coney book. And for those viewers, we certainly have something for you. It's the combo of the DVD of tonight's show and the book. But for a pledge of $250, we'll send along the 2 books as well as the 3 DVDs. Now remember, with that pledge of $150, you get 2 books and 1 DVD. With the pledge of $240, you get 2 books and 3 DVDs. What's not to say? I want to make my pledge.
Well, part of the package tonight that Bob's been talking about and the volunteers have been signing you up for is, of course, and there they are, our friends from the Planned Giving Advisory Council from Detroit Public Television. We appreciate their service. And, of course, the friends of DPTV. They've been telling you all about the big Motor City combo at the $240 giving level and above. And inside that package is one of the episodes of the Detroit Remember When series, the history of Detroit television, which includes so much great television footage from the early days. They really did a nice job of opening up the archives. Tim Kiska, Michael Collins, putting the program together with so many other associate producers. Soupy Sales, Johnny Ginger, Annie D, Sonny Elliott, Robin Seymour, all of these really colorful news and television personalities. But the most colorful of all, a Detroit brand to be sure, is the one and only Bill Bonds. We miss him. Here's a segment from the film.
Cost of watering your lawn, washing your dog, taking a bath, and maybe drinking a Strohs or a Faygo is going to go up because of a decision by the Detroit City Council. And tonight, there is some serious talk of digging up the body of Elvis Presley for a series of tests. I'll have the stories for you in just a moment. Cherry Hodak will be stepping in with the weather, Dave Dials with sports, Diana Lewis, Bill Bonds, those stories, and much more information.
I really miss the business. I mean, there's nothing like it. It's something new every day.
It's going to be interesting to watch this one develop.
And if you're with the right kind of people, that which is new is usually compelling and interesting.
A verbal and indeed a legal bombshell dropped in a Detroit federal courtroom today.
And you're sharing the first page of history that day with the community in which you live. I didn't bet.
On the upfront segment tonight, the future of the city of Detroit, and our guest is the man who was in the hot seat, if you will. Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for being with us this afternoon.
Bill Bonds was perfect for the new medium of television. Part showman, part newsman, part actor, part philosopher.
As a pompous, overpaid television anchor person, one gets accustomed to offering his profound views on everything from the greenhouse effect to the Alaskan oil spill.
He would be a major factor in Detroit for all or part of 5 decades.
Look, I go through enough crap back here, I don't have to go through it with you.
Well,
and let me tell you something.
No, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something.
No, you tell yourself something. I'm tired of talking to you.
Okay, fine. I'm tired of talking to you.
People watch Bill Bonds. I often said that Billy was great because he was predictably unpredictable. And you watched him to see what the hell is he going to do tonight.
He had an innate sense, a total understanding of what that medium could be. If you look at the typical anchor at that time, it was Dick Westerkamp or Legoff, and they were quite good. They were great newsmen, but it was, good evening, this is the news, whereas Bill took the dramatic he understood the dramatic possibilities of that medium.
Extremely talented. Extremely talented. He never faltered in the high opinion of his own self. He really wanted to be the only one.
Bonds grew up on Detroit's West Side, the son of a school teacher and an advertising executive. He says Detroit's 1943 riot was a formative event. He remembers at the age of 10 being on a streetcar as riders tried to protect a black man from a street gang.
The gang apparently saw him get on this gang of white guys, maybe, I don't know, half a dozen of them or a dozen, and they came over the streetcar and they pulled the runner down so that it came off the electricity feed and stopped the streetcar. And they came on board and they carried him off, and I don't know what happened to him.
This is Bill Bonds, WKNR Contact News.
He would work his way through local radio and continually campaign for a job in television. At one point, Channel 4's Sonny Elliott introduced him to news director Jim Clark.
He was almost like an agent for me. I mean, he went to Jim Clark and said, you got to hire this guy.
Bill went up there, and within 5 minutes, he called Jim Clark all kinds of names. They had a fight that was that could have been heard 4 blocks away, and Jim Clark threw Bill Bonds out of the studio.
He said, yeah, but we're number one. He said, well, you won't be unless you hire me, something like that. So I blew it.
Clark once told me there were so many egos running around. He said, I didn't want to add another big one, to the mix.
By 1964, he had landed a job at Channel 7.
Dr. King, would you think about this just a moment before you answer it?
In the summer of '67, the station's coverage of the riots would change the station's ratings trajectory and the public's perception of Bill Bonds.
We said it couldn't happen here. Things were too good. But it did, and the nation was shocked.
As his reputation grew, he dabbled with stations in New York and Los Angeles, but it was never quite the same as it was in his hometown.
Bonds, Kelly, Ackerman, Turner, Channel 7's Action News team. We got who you wanted.
The biggest job at Channel 7 was keeping all of that talent in line. It wasn't easy. They were all top-notch people, but Bill was the top of the notch.
Over the years, he would become a part of the area's folklore, the challenge to Mayor Coleman Young to a fistfight, the ever-evolving toupees, the battle with alcohol.
Bill's alcohol problem should have been addressed much earlier, and it wasn't.
I certainly was not treated unfairly. I was given plenty of chances to take care of one little area of my life that, you know.
This may be the last television news that I ever get to anchor, so I'm going to take a shot at one little commentary here.
Today, he says his drinking days are long gone, but his enthusiasm for the craft he mastered, unlike anyone else, remains.
We're in the business of presenting history because it's important to the people with whom we live, for the good of our society and ourselves and our company and our product. It's important stuff. And don't treat it frivolously.
Bill Bond's all part of the history of Detroit television, one of the films in the combo, but filmed and released before his recent passing. But listen, Erik Smith and Amir Jacobson, we're talking about icons, and Bill certainly was that.
He was. I was privileged to be with Billy for most of his career, and I think the last of that really encapsulated his commitment to the news. He lived it, he breathed it, he was dedicated to the craft, and I missed the hell out of him, frankly.
He was a fun and a funny guy.
Yeah.
I never had the privilege of working with him, but we did things together and would meet here or there, and just and he got something started because he wanted something started, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
And one of those things that you did with Bill was in our studio with Bill and Mort Krim, Amir Jacobson, and I think Rich Fisher. We did a citywide kind of roadblock broadcast. But again, part of the heart of Detroit, which is you know, sort of the title of your book, but also a feeling that comes through all of these products and all of things we experience together.
We live in a marvelous place and a marvelous state.
Absolutely.
And you know, it's easy to sing praises because the people, you know, we've been knocked down, but we keep coming back, and that's what I think all of us have in our hearts is, you know, the love of our town and the people in it. And we're just all very fortunate.
Detroiters are very dedicated, very loyal, very consistent. It's a great place. We are nothing like our national image, and I wish people would realize that and don't just say Detroit. You live in Detroit. Yes, I live in Detroit. It's a beautiful place.
Thank you, Erik Smith, Amir Jacobson, all of our guests tonight for celebrating Detroit.
You bet.
Appreciate it. Celebrate all the things we have with public television for your home, your family, this entire Detroit community by making a pledge right now, large or small. It all makes a difference when you give.
That's right. Each individual pledge makes a great difference here at Detroit Public Television because we know that it comes from your heart, which is what we do here. We bring you programming from our heart to make sure that it has impact, that it has meaning for your life. And we hope that you will make a meaningful pledge to Detroit Public TV this evening, perhaps at the $75 level, for which we'd love to be able to send along a copy of tonight's program. And you will have this history of Detroit's iconic brands for your video library. If you'd like to make that pledge a little larger at the $90 level, we'd love to send along the Coney book, a compendium of Detroit's Coney Islands, as well as a few Coney Islands from outstate as well. But for your pledge of $150, we'll send along tonight's program and two books. The second book is going to be Erik Smith's From the Heart, a wonderful collection of tales of Michigan stories that Erik compiled over the years, as well as the Coney book and tonight's program, as I said. But for that pledge of $240, we'll make sure that you get both books and 3 videos from the Detroit Remember When series. Reach for the phone, pledge your support.
Do it now here in your final moment. On public television, these moments, they come and then they go. And don't let it pass you by. Make a difference around this program. Say, yeah, you know what, I'm going to stand up as a Detroiter and celebrate those things that are uniquely the Motor City in Motown. It's a special thank you gift that we're able to provide to you. These things in the film is for you. We'll send it along to you when you make a contribution, $75 or $625 a month, ongoing as a monthly sustainer. But it embedded in all of that, in that act of giving, is the essence of our own unique brand, being from Detroit, being a Detroiter. and what that means. You work hard, you probably got a few calluses, you got a great big heart, and you put on your work boots, your hard hat, you get your lunch bucket, and we all just sort of roll up our sleeves and pitch in. If you're as proud of that as we are here at Detroit Public TV, make a contribution. The amount, unimportant, just that you do it. Call 1-800-859-9887, or as always, online at dptv.org. And thanks.